I'm going to ask Jamila to welcome you all. This is Jamila. That's her house, and this is her land. I'm just a squatter, all right. And Jamila, here, you all can be over this side. You all can be over this side. Yeah, if you there are chairs around. If you need to sit down,
We've got
number
more
one,
chairs.
face downhill. You face uphill, you topple over. All right. Yeah.
There's more, yeah, it's very slopey here. So this is my property, and 2 years ago I encouraged Ben and Alia to move next door, and because I'd been really wanting to have a food forest here, and it just naturally evolved really that Ben and Alia started gardening to make space because they love gardening so much and they missed their property. So I've had this property here since 2007, so quite some time. And the vision really is people come and take retreats to be a healing place, a place for meditation and spiritual growth, and to create healthy soil and a healthy lifestyle. So there's something here for many different kinds of people. The property goes halfway through that bush, so a lot of these beautiful kauri and rimu are part of the property. There's a lot of rewa in there as well. We've thinned out some of the kanuka, and that's it there. This is where we're going to make a cabin and a deck, so that when Ben and Alia are teaching, there's a space for them to teach and bring people for a cup of tea and a flat place to sit. So it's sort of evolving, and hopefully next spring we'll be able to put the cabin there. So, and it'll be a place for people to come and stay for a few days and replenish themselves. So Ben and Alia have done an amazing job, and Ben will tell you everything, but you'll see it was just a persimmon tree and 2 orange trees and an apple tree and a feijoa hedge, pretty much, and a few fig trees that don't produce anything when Ben came.
Pass it along. Pass the photographs. Pass the photographs along.
Yeah. Yes. And Ben and I, at the very beginning, we went to Matapuri to study with Klaus the permaculture and thermodynamics. So Ben will tell you all about that too. Yeah. I don't do very much. I'm too busy generating money to try and get all this stuff done. And connecting with people seems to be more my gardening than it is physical gardening, even though I've got my own veggie garden up here. But I seem to be gardening and supporting souls rather than gardening and helping the soil.
We've known Jamila for a very long time, and when we needed a place to stay, she said, well, there is a place there available. And we came over. I was very pleased actually, because she and Anne, Alia, where is she? They know each other so well that Anne visits Jamila 3 times a week or so, and sometimes in the weekend. And you know what crazies are like in the night, driving home. I used to get worried. And now our flat is just there, and she walks down and she can just put a flying fox there and she'll be there. You know, so I'm pretty pleased with that. So we moved in about September of 2019. That's about 2.5 years now. And I brought some of my plants are in pots, and we put them where my car is. And about 2 or 3 months later, Jamila says, hey, you know, I didn't even know this place existed. I've got this piece of garden at the back there. Would you like to start something there? So I said, oh, that looks interesting. So I came down with her. We had a look. I was amazed. Please send those photographs around so that I thought you have a rough idea what I'm talking about. All right. So at that time, there was, if you see one of the photographs, there's nothing there except these 2 citrus trees, and you can see they're much lower up to here. And that persimmon tree, which is fruiting for the first time, Jamila is over the moon with that one. There's an old apple tree. In the photograph you can see it, but now it's been covered up. These two old plum trees, a row of 6 feijoas, and a few fig trees at the back there that has never given any figs. All right, got to threaten it with this. So we came, and that was September, I said, and about December, Jamila asked me, and where Adrian is, I sat down there, and I said, I really need to get in touch with this place here. I called a few friends over from Tree Crops and maybe from Soil and Health to come and have a look. And they're garden design people, they're horticulturists, scientists. I took them around, we went for a walk. Each one of them, the garden design guy says, you must do this. There's a lot of water coming down, you need drainage. You have to have a herringbone and everything. The funniest one was this guy who was very interested in agriculture. And he came and told me, all right, where's your vegetable bed going to be? And I said, everywhere. He said, no, come on, tell me where. Where are you going to plant your vegetable? I said, everywhere. And I've never been called an idiot so many times in half an hour. Anyway, he came over here and he said, if I were you, I'll build a bed 1 meter wide, 30 meters long, and that's one. And the next one, he says, okay. So rather than have an argument, I said, okay. Now what are you going to plant in there? I said, everything. He wanted me to say, well, there's broccoli, there's cabbage, or whatever it is. So anyway, to show you that I always say the worst person in the garden is the gardener. You get a good gardener is the best thing, all right? But most of the time, it is us. We are the most stubborn, the most obstinate, the most illogical, and we want things the way we want things. Nature is not like that. I grew up in a tropical orchard. As kids, we ran around like this ones, and then we get some seeds, and we find there's a spot there, stick it in. That's how nature was. And what I want you to notice first of all is Jamila's bush there. If you have a look from there coming over here. It's almost like an extension. It's part of that. All right, and that is one thing. All these friends gave me advice and designs and everything. I ignored every one of them. Number one, nature never had rectangular beds. Nature has curves. Nature has all this. So you'll find this may be the only construction here. Nothing else is constructed. Beds are on the ground, and that's what it is. So what we had in a way was a nice bare patch that we need to. So I sat down on that part there, and once in a while Jamila comes down, and maybe 2 days later she comes down again, and she said, she must have thought I slept there. She said, you're still there? I said, yeah, I'm still thinking. It took me 2 months of thinking and looking before I had a rough idea what I was going to do. By which time something tremendous happened. We had our first lockdown. That photograph I took was up there, standing up there, and you can see all Kaikuya, and one big mound here about this high that stretched from here to there. And we thought somebody's old garden bed. Yippee-doo! And Jamila and Anne went round and tried to pull out the kaikuya. Underneath were tarpaulin and old carpets and everything possible. The neighbor had to have her truck load them all up and take them away. And it was there that much until it went right down to the ground. And that was how big a mess that was. So during the first lockdown, I think they spent a couple of months doing that every day. Real hard work. And that was when I had my first inkling, where I said, that's a nice spot. This was nothing, all right, it's just grass. So you can see what I did. That's the first tree I planted. In case you're wondering, I'm going to show you some use of this as well. Those who went to Matapuri, all these people who do what they call synthropy, which is a kind of sustainable agriculture, they all carry this, usually here, all right? And they do what's known as chop and drop. And basically we chop and drop. But of course, having two ladies here, whatever you chop, they tidy up, all right? By right, this should all be full of mess. But, well, you know, there it is. So I dug a hole here, and I had this tree, a grafted tree. Pears need double grafting, intergraft and another graft, and planted it in. You will notice that because of Auckland, how wet and clay, most of my trees are planted about this high, above the ground. Plant it low and it won't grow. Plant it high and it won't die. So there it was. Then of course on the second year I got excited. I grafted another one, another one, and another one, and another one. So hopefully there'll be a lot here. And I'm hoping that this will go up over there. So as you go past it, you get your head conked by pears. So there it is. One of the funny things we noticed when we went to learn at Matapuri, I actually didn't want to go, but Jamila even sponsored me. And I thought it's a good idea. Because a partnership like this is like a marriage. You got to understand what's happening. She got to understand what I'm doing. I've got to understand what she's. We have to know what we know. And when I went there, I got on well with Klaus because how he planted was the way I would have planted. So we got on very well. And if we just look at this small space, elderberry, cherry moya, self-sown feijoa, a very interesting plant from South Africa called a natto plum, or the natives call them num num tree, all right? Because the fruit is so num num, all right? And then we had a compost bin here, and what happens is I'll take the compost, take it somewhere else, the compost drops there, and plants the veggies. Which is the next thing you want to realize what I'm doing here. Some of you will say, where are the natives? I'm not into natives. I'm into food. Secondly, where's your Zane will complain here. Where's your compost thingies? I do have a few compost bins. It's easy to just chuck things in there, cold composting. But basically, no composting. Why would I want to put it there, let it rot, carry it to put it somewhere else? It makes no sense. If it goes down there, it helps the place. So that's what it is. So while the two ladies had their bums to the sky cleaning up the bush, I was over here and I decided, wow, this is a nice place. All the water is going to run down here. And you've heard of swales and all that. What if I built a little mound here that the Germans call Hugelkultur bed? We just got some veggies because Anne will die of starvation soon if we don't have that. And one of the photographs showed me digging about 1.5 spade deep. Jamila said they cut down some of the dead trees and trees that come over. So we laid them in here, and then we put mulch and we laid another layer. I kid you not, it was this high. Wow. All right, but over time it's gone down. I think next year I have to redo it and reshape it because a hugel bed can be this high. And when you think of the land area, you actually get a very big bed, one side facing the sun, one side away from the sun, and it's really, and the wood rots underneath. It absorbs the water, so water retention. It gives out the water. Very little watering needed here in drought. So it's about 3.5 meters, I kid you not. Most of it was just wood. Wood mulch.
Some of your clay soil back in there or not?
Yes, at the sides here, just to hold it. And when we first put it, there were only a few barrel loads of earth at the top, and it started growing. And what started growing, that's the next thing you got to notice when I take you around, is most of us are into production. We want to get something out of the soil, all right? And it's like a balance sheet when you talk about sustainable, regenerative, whatever it is. What goes out, what comes in. If what goes out is more than what comes in, you're in deficit. You are spoiling the land. You've used up too much of your credit. If you put in more and take out less, you are building up your store. So it's more into taking care of the soil. So underneath here, the wood is rotting, it's doing all that, and a lot of plants go in. In the beginning, what I planted was things like calendula, plantain. I let things grow, and you see over time they all self-seed. Like all the calendula is self-seeding. A lot of those vegetables are self-seeding, good Cape gooseberries. And so you notice narrow leaf plantain, for instance. I let them grow everywhere. White clover, self-heal. Jamila doesn't like dock, but I plug my ears, I don't listen. All right. And so they grow. And strangely enough, the one thing I didn't have here is comfrey. I don't have comfrey. This is an old English herb called meadowsweet. It's the original aspirin. And hiding somewhere in there is a Stella cherry. Like I said, cherimoya, self-sown feijoa. Evo, I may graph later.
What's this one?
So that is Titonia. I just stuck that in a few days ago, thinking, it'd be nice to have some shade here. Titonias are those, you see the one with the big yellow flower there? Yeah, they grow that tall in about 4 months, right? So they are great for chopping and dropping. They are sometimes called Mexican daisy. And all you got to do is stick it in, it will grow. It's a stir-round version, so it won't invade anywhere. To grow it, you have to take cuttings. And I stick them everywhere. In fact, just about a month or so ago, I put one in there, and it's already come up to this high. There, the edge there. So there it is, and about a couple of months ago, and got some of this French marigolds, and they're good. So you put them around, and things grow in here. What you will notice is there's no group of vegetables. After all, when you really think of it, there's Jamila and the two of us, there's 3 of us. It's supposed to give us food for that time. And when we talk about fruit trees, these are the places where we have vegetables. And then in between, there'll be vegetables all over the place. All right?
Is that cherimoya on its own roots?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Most cherimoyas will give you decent fruit anyway.
How long do they take to actually fruit?
When they're big enough.
How many years?
Nature has no timeline. All right, nature will grow. They will tell you when they're ready. Okay, so Syntropic. it's a new word. Klaus went to learn with Ernst Gosch in Brazil, and Klaus is German, Ernst is Swiss, but they went to work amongst native communities that were displaced. They were in the bush, but because the government wanted to do things to the bush, they brought them all, gave them small plots of land, and said, well, there you are, plant, live, be happy. And of course, they only knew a few things. Chop, clear everything, grow. As time went by, the land got worse and worse, they were poorer and poorer. And so they tried to give them an initiative on how to regenerate the soil. So to do that, Klaus was with Ernst for a long time. They started thinking, how can we teach these people? What did they used to do? They used to go into the bush, amongst the native trees, and wherever there's space, they planted. So they planted things that they want in places that already have an environment, ecology that helps the soil. And they all use machetes, so chop, get through. That's it. So that was it. It's a very funny concept. The concept works on succession. And to be a gardener is very good actually in a way. It makes us very philosophical. We live, we die, other people live, all right? So succession tells us that first things that grow are weeds. Weeds are the best thing for your ground when you're new. Z, where are you? All right? That's new. When you clear your land, weeds are going to grow up. When you get a wound, a scab is going to grow up. All right? You keep scratching the scab, you never get healed. So weeds are the first thing that grow. Once the weeds come out and they die and you have some humus, the second generation, maybe little shrubs come up and they keep coming up. Then finally the trees grow up. And if you go into a native bush, not all the secondary bush, the ground is basically empty. By which time they blocked off everything, the ground is actually clear, it's cool, and that's the way nature is. So succession is very important. So one of the things we do, we plan for, is I have peach trees over there. I'll give them about 7 years. They'll be bound to be dead by then. If not, I'll make sure they are. And plant something else beside. We are all in our own separate gardens. I don't know how many of you are guilty of that. We treat our trees like residents in an old folks' home. They have dementia. They are not good for anything except cleaning their thumbs and waiting for dinner. All right? And if you want trees like that, and you wonder why they're not giving you anything, that's the reason why. They're past it. Unfortunately, with chop and drop, no sentiment involved. They're past it, chop them down. All right? And gets a bit what? Oh, I need this. I'm doing this. All right? And so when you look at things like this, you give it a good chop, and it's gone. All right? It goes down. The seeds are there already. They are already flowering. There it goes. All right? And that's what you do. So chopping and dropping is very important. As soon as you pass the prime, let it go. Okay. So that's that. This is called a keyhole garden. It's a very interesting thing that originated in a tiny state in the north of South Africa called Lesotho. It's one of the poorest countries in the world, up atop of a ridge, and it's so poor, there's nothing there, no soil much, and the people are just scratching a living. And one thing good about Australians, they are very good at permaculture and all that. Australian volunteers went there and they said, we really need to teach them what to do. And they were school teachers, primary school, so they got the kids together and designed this thing. 1 meter from the center, a ring, the photograph if you've seen it. Alright, in that place, I dug a hole down, put in the smaller twigs. These are old bricks and everything. And because it's a meter, you can reach it everywhere without stepping on it. In the middle, what they made them do, they put sticks there so that the household rubbish can go in there. In my case, I use a worm tunnel. It's got an empty bottom, and so I chuck things in there. The worms take care of them, and the leachate goes out and feeds the plant. It's called a keyhole garden because you need it in there so it looks like a keyhole. And you'd be surprised, even taking the consideration that that slot there is about 3.5 square meters. It's a very efficient use of space. I actually wanted 3. 1, 2, and 3. But Jamila wants to build the deck first, so these need to come through. So with these trees, cover them with cardboard, put mulch on it, and then start planting. I put here Vietnamese mint. I always advise people put Vietnamese mint. The smell is so strong, the poor borers can't smell the citrus, and you do that, you're not going to get borers. And whatever I could get, all right, nasturtiums, plantain, and we planted them. This one is even more interesting, okay? And it'd be a nice exercise for you to stand here afterwards and count to see what you have in here. There's heaps. I think I must have about 20 to 40 types of herbs and so-called weeds. I have about 65 varieties of apples here, about 14 types of plums, and peaches not so much. But eventually, because it's only less than half an acre, and so what happens is I don't want all the same apple. When I get them by the bushel load and start to give everybody, and then the rest of you get nothing. This tree has been featured in the Tree Croppers magazine. At that time it had 10 grafts. You can see all the grafts. Not all of them do well. Look at this first one, a splendor. Well, it's not splendid, but there it is. It's 11 now. There are a few more branches coming out, so next year is going to be more. And this one has already fruited. This one's fruited. This one, Golden Delicious, will fruit next year. So what happens is I may get, say, well, 5 apples. By the time it'll be bigger. And next week some more. And a different variety. I think for a small garden, that's what we need to do. Not all at once. And if you plan it well, you get apples from somewhere middle of February, all right, all the way to July. And that's what you need to do. That's why a lot of these old trees, they should have been sold at the tree crop sale, but because of lockdowns, and some of them have gone to ground. So I'm waiting for them to go dormant or pull them out and redo them, tidy them up a bit, and maybe do more grafts on them. The whole idea is to have a variety. The one thing I don't concentrate on is cooking apples, because I don't like cooking apples. And no Granny Smith. I hate Granny Smith. I grew up with Granny Smiths in Malaya. That's the only apple we can get. Unripe, tart, hard, useless. And so until today I won't look at them. Alright, if you can, or if you don't want to, just stay there. Some of you can come over here, and we'll start by looking at some of the things around here. This is Laughing Jim, all right, Gymnopalus, and if you eat it and you start laughing, you know it's got some interesting properties. All right. So there it is. Asians, where is Z and Y?
Oh, they had to leave then.
Oh,
They apologise.
we love this. Eaten raw. It's a perennial eggplant. They don't grow very big.
The little round one?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
those are really nice.
Yeah, there we are. See? Yeah. So Asian, you know. Yeah. So it will come out. It's got thorns.
It's a raw.
The nice thing about this one is most of those are annuals. This is a perennial. So next year, if I can grow them from seed, I'm going to be grafting that onto this, and then I'm going to have my eggplants that will keep fruiting, and I don't have to keep planting them. All right? You must have a method in your madness. That's what I do.
How big do these eggplants get?
They can come up to about this high, and yeah, quite interesting. If you look at these banana trees, I want you to count the number of leaves. It is said that a banana will start fruiting after it has got 42 leaves, from the time it's from the ground up. All right? And a very healthy banana has got anything from 12 to 14 leaves. Now if you count that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that one has got 10. The other one has got 14 over there. So these are healthy bananas. And you have to keep them
Another one down
covered
there too,
underneath.
just over there.
So that is pretty good cover.
Hard to see.
All right, that's Goldfinger. And up there I have a new one called Mona Lisa. That's the most expensive plant I have here. I tried to hide it from Anne, but she found out. I bought that for $80. Wow. Very expensive. All right. So when we shifted from Swanson, there were 2 old trees in the paddock that's about 100 years old. So I got Anne to climb up to the top and get me some grass. So these 2 trees, these 2 apple trees here, this one and the other one, came from that old orchard. And the only good thing is I pat myself on the back and said I saved 2 old trees from dying. I call this my peach lane. As you can see, that plum is in the wrong place. So eventually that will have to go. Some more Titonia, anybody wants? Anybody else wants
Sylvain.
Titonia? Yep, okay, there you go.
That's for you, is it?
Do you get round rock on your peaches?
I spray with apple cider vinegar.
Okay.
As you can see,
Straight.
yes. Oh no, I do this. One. Black currant, Casimiro, cherry moya, self-sown avocado, false cardamom. This indigofera is a different strain. It's from Australia called Australis. All right, it can grow up to this high. So I have 2 kinds, one taller and one lower. This is from Woodlands. This is one of Dan Hansen's Woodland.
Oh, yes.
This is Woodland yellow, a yellow plum.
Ah, I've got Woodland yellow plum at home.
Yep,
It's
that's
got
the
a big
one.
old tree.
Yeah.
Very sour, but
Is it?
great for cooking.
Oh no,
No, actually it's only the skin that's sour.
I hate sour fruit.
Here, what are these?
Oh, maybe it's only the skin then. I think it's sweet inside.
Kumara. We just stick it anywhere. The whole idea about Syntrope is, one of the teachers said, it's not us cutting down the trees, it's us not planting enough. If you keep planting, nature does that. Thousands of seeds, thousands of plants, and then some die, some live, you know. And that's the way it is.
Yeah.
Again, in the wrong place, this has got to go. Plum, again, it will be a pollinator. Indian curry leaf has seeds. Don't wait until they become too black. That's about correct. If you're going to plant them, stings when it's not in the curry. What you want to do, oh, I didn't even notice that. I cut myself with this. Is to peel off all this, and then there's a white seed inside. Take away the little skin of it. You totally don't want anything on it. Then you put it between wet tissue or wet paper towel. It will grow. It will grow, and that's the way you grow these things. Oh, you want to try that? Yeah, you can try to grow it. They got very good viability, and because they're fresh, they will grow well. And I scratch the skin. I'm actually Indian underneath. I eat a lot of curry, so I need these trees. Unfortunately, because of the long drought and then rain, what happened is they start splitting. So you can see they split. You will say lemongrass doesn't grow. I stuck that in. That place is covered with water last year. It grew, it thrived. So much so, I put another 2 here. And the whole idea is put them in the ground, chives. So if you have them in the ground, look at that tomatillo. It's ripened, I'm going to let it grow. That's the one they make salsa of. You know? Yeah. So hopefully the place will be full of tomatillo and this Cape gooseberry. They're related. So they'll start growing everywhere. I didn't take you through there because it's a bit up and down. But those of you who are more adventurous, you want to go, it just connects with the honeyberry at the end there. And you can go down there. But you see, natural paths occur after a while. You know, we as animals, we find a way to. And some of the plants, if you were to plant this, it looks like you're in the wrong place. But they do grow well. They're always covered.
Stay there.
And that is the major thing. What happens with a lot of trees, this is grafted onto Trifoliata because I just cut through the Trifoliata. Trifoliata has got one bad habit. It is used in our industry today because it can stand cold. The reason why it can stand cold is it goes dormant. So around now, Trifoliata starts dying down. Here's this poor tree trying to grow, and its stomach has decided to go to sleep. So what happens? It's having malnutrition. And you go to the nursery, they'll tell you, oh, put iron, put this, put that. It's useless. Why? Because the roots are sleeping. What's the point of feeding a guy who's sleeping? So what happened is all the leaves turn yellow. Because of all this cover, actually they haven't gone to sleep yet. So this is still nice. I basically don't do anything. Yeah. And
Nasturtium will do lots of work.
the whole idea is if you keep your ground covered, if there are lots of things growing, there's lots of soil flora and fauna that's feeding your plants. And that is the most important thing.
Do you keep them down as a height, or is this just they not got
I
bigger
gave
yet?
it a hard prune, this one.
Yep.
And I wanted to lop off that one, but Jamila didn't like that, so I left it alone. So it may have it 2 tiers. But this one was here, and I cleared the whole open. It looked like a monk's head, you know, with the hair growing at the side and the center bald. And that's what it is. And this year, I don't like to disturb it too much. I may not prune this one this year, and next year it's going to be big and it's going to be drooping all over. So that's good. That's the way to do it.
So what's it?
What did you do to the persimmon to have it fruit this year?
Oh, well, it may be old enough to start
Right.
fruiting, but what happened is, you see, a lot of us, we are too scared. Those persimmon branches can grow twice as long.
Right.
And when you have fruit that heavy, they start breaking.
Yeah.
So what I do is, when I walk past, all right, those branches have all been cut to half the thing. And then it had more fruit than that. I had to take them off and throw them away, far away, so you can't see them. All right, because you have to thin your fruit. If not, they will break. It's very important.
And will the broken branch root and start another one or not?
I
Or do
wouldn't
you
even
have to have
try.
it all grafted?
See, that's my persimmon. Full
Yeah.
of colour. It's like
Yeah.
it's finished its fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are a bit late because we are south facing.
Yes.
People on that side will get this early. This place is south facing. So
It's quite good while we're having extra hot summers maybe for you that you are.
yeah. But when this was high, the one sun you put in this way, the one that you want shade goes on that side. So that's how you grow them. So I didn't plan to like Zane says, I'm an accidental gardener. Everything is by accident. I only wanted about one banana tree, but now I ended up with 14 and about 6 varieties.
Well, if you can have healthy things by accident, I don't think anyone would moan about that.
This the trees that Jamila cut down, and she got somebody who was an ex-timber guy, and he did all this.
Half an hour before you guys
Yeah.
arrive.
And what happens is, I'm going to make a German sort of a stack called Holzhaufen. I don't know who's German who can. It means a mound of wood, and it will look like an igloo, a Holzhaufen. You don't need it to be undercover. Water will shade off. There will be circulation underneath. It will dry the wood. So I'm going to build, because she's going to build a deck here soon coming from there. I'm going to take it and make a Holzhaufen, and there's another one over there. The first time I saw Holzhaufen was in Rainbow Valley by Joe Polisher. Joe Polisher had that.
Yeah.
All right, questions.
With the persimmons, when do you know when to pick one?
I suppose you use your nose and you use your tactile senses.
Our friends picked them before when they're not orange at all, sort of a very light yellow.
No.
And I thought, I don't think it's a good idea.
No, and
10 switch variety.
Oh,
I got those organza bags from what's something smart in Westgate. That's the cheapest you can get. You can get 10 of that size for $3, I think. Next to that, you got to buy them on AliExpress. But they seem to work well, because if you look around, today there are too many of you. There's about 3 karuru around and lots of thrush, and sometimes they sit there waiting. Yeah.
here's what my friend found. She found the birds wanted them. So she also had to bag them.
Yeah. Yep. What is what? Cape gooseberry.
Oh,
Cape gooseberry, they sell them at supermarket, call them golden berries. And they sell them the same price as strawberries. It's unbelievable, ridiculous. Look at them, they're all over here.
Cape gooseberry,
If you can find an all right one with seed, you may be able to grow them.
They grow pretty easily. Then is that persimmon the non-astringent one?
Is that the part you eat before they get blighted? Yes. You have a look and see. Who is the one who, you may want to try and grow this. Yeah, there, this one is ripe. And all you got to do is just squeeze them in the ground and they'll grow.
I can't grow.
You've got the other $5 in there.
The white clover is very low. In the center there are red clover, they come up to this high, but they seem to die down early. If anybody wants seeds of this French marigolds, just grab them and spread them.
A little bit. It's sour.
They will be very sweet when it's hot. To parts of Turkestan, Kazakhstan, the home of the apple. And that is Tashkent. It adjoins China, all right, somewhere in the Tian Shan area. And they got back some of the original wild plants. Very healthy, all right. And the fruit, I wouldn't even pick that away for it to ripen or try growing them. That small, from the skin is the seed. No flesh, hard as anything.
The little red one.
Yeah, and that's the. So this is a Tashkent wild apple, and with most of our government things, they spend millions of dollars doing all that, and then when the time is over, they bulldoze the whole lot off. And somebody managed to save this one and grow it, and so it is still alive only because of that. Because what happened when they finish, they just mow everything. They don't want to. So I've got 2 Tashkent wild apple here, and I'm hoping eventually that I'll crossbreed them if I should live that long, and maybe get something healthy. See how healthy it is? Yeah. So sometimes going back here, but there it is. Some of these things that grew naturally for thousands or millions of years, they are the healthy things. And then we tried to breed things that are so unhealthy, but because they look nice, they taste nice, they're bigger, well, that's what it is.
Or they last longer.
And look at this one too, starting to flower again. Yeah, our weather is.
I eat this one.
Yes.
Kumarali.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
With sambal.
This is Sichuan pepper. If you just pick a leaf and chew it and see, it's got that peppery, thingy. Here, that's Sichuan pepper. Sichuan pepper. Yeah, all this. I have a few down there. I love Sichuan pepper.
How tall does it grow into?
It can grow up to 3-4 meters high.
Yeah.
It can be high. Yep. Yeah. It is actually. It's actually a citrus. It's not a pepper. It's a citrus.
It's strong.
Yeah.
So you use the leaf?
No, you use the covering of the seed. The covering of the seed. He was an American friend that taught me. He had a Japanese wife and he taught me about 5 years ago, and ever since I tasted it I was like, oh my god, I need to have this plant. I hope you all learn something, that if nothing else, that there is method in my madness, because all of us are mad in our own ways. It's only perhaps I can give you a reason why I'm mad this way. Alright. The whole idea is what you want out of your garden. There's those who want a flower garden, pretty. There are those who come from England where every tree has got to be equidistant from the next tree. Alright, and you spend your whole life giving them haircuts and watering them. In this case here, no, that's not my idea. It's not even trying to preserve the New Zealand bush. It's trying to get food out of it. It's trying to get food without too much input, without too much. I do have some fertilizer. I think in the 2.5 years, I may have used 20 kilos total of organic fertilizer. But that's about it. My biggest thing is apple cider vinegar that I spray, and mats that I use to clean my tools, and also if there's any woolly aphid, I spray that, and that's all.
What do you spray for woolly aphid?
Sorry?
What do you spray for woolly aphid?
For woolly aphid? Meth.
Meth. METHS. Methylated spirits.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because New Zealand doesn't use actual meth. Our meth is actually alcohol. In America, they're still allowed to use real meth, which is tremendously poisonous. And so you see a bottle hanging there. As I walk past, I normally spray my tools before I get down here. It's a habit that I do every time. And so you can see some plants are weak. That's because they are weak stalk. And then you see all the wool there. The wool stops it from getting sprayed. All right, it protects the insect. But when methylated spirit touches the wool, it shrinks and they're exposed. And then they die or other insects get them. So it's the easiest. There you go.
Well, thank you very much, Ben. I think
You're welcome.
seen some
I hope you all
very
enjoy that.